Okay.
Okay. Mario,
Yeah, yeah.
is it taping?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Zvachim Beis. Kol ha-zvachim shenizbechu shelo lishman. Any korban that is shechted, and when the kohen shechts it, he doesn't have in mind the right korban. For example, he's shechting a shlomim, and he has in mind the kavana for a korban pesach. So ksherim, the korban could be eaten as long as you continue. There are four primary avodot by a korban: shchita, kabbalah of the blood in a kli, then zrika of the blood on the mizbeach. Once you do the zrika, you can eat the meat. That's the processing of a korban. Shchita, hoilacha, kabbalah, and zrika. So even if you had in mind shaloli shmo, when you shechted, if you carry out the remaining processes of the korban, the kabbalah, the hoilacha, the zrika, the korban is kosher, and you can eat the meat. Rather, the bailim have not fulfilled their obligation to bring that korban, so they have to bring another one. Now, this rule applies chutz min ha-pesach ve'achatas. A korban pesach and a korban chatas, if you shechted it shelo lishma, they're pasul. There's no point in carrying out the remainder of the avodot because it's pasul gamri. But there's a difference between the pesach and the chatas. Pesach is pasul when it's shechted shelo lishma. When? Bismano. When it's the right time to shech the korban pesach, which is Yud Daled Nisan after Chatzos. But the chatas, if the kohen shechts the chatas and has an improper lishma in mind, then it ruins it b'chol zman at any time. And Rabbi Eliezer Omer af asham, the asham also is pasul when it's shechted shelo lishma. Ha-pesach bizmano. The pesach is pasul when you shechted shelo lishma erev Pesach after Chatzos. The achatas v'asham b'chol zman. Achatas v'asham, if it's shechted shelo lishma, is possible no matter when you do it. On Rabbi Eliezer, achatas bal chet, v'asham bal chet. Achatas is brought because you did something b'shogeg, that which you normally get kores, like eating chaylev or eating dam. Ma achatas psula shelo lishma. However, if you bring a korban achatas, the korban is pasul shelo lishma. Afa asham pasul shelo lishma. Yosi ben Choni Oimer. Not only the Pesach and the Chatas pasul when you shechted shelo lishma, but if you take any other korban, an ola, a shlomim, hanishchatim l'shem Pesach, l'shem Chatas. If you had in mind shechting another korban, but you had in mind that it should be a Pesach or a Chatas psulim. Shimon Achi Azariah Oimer. Shachton lishman gavoya man ksherim. Any korban, if you had in mind a korban that's more elevated in hierarchy, it's kosher. Shachton l'shem namuch ben, but if you shechted for a korban that's less holy, psulin. What's an example? Ketzah. Kodshe kodshim, the category like a chatas and an ola, which are in the category of kodshe kodshim. Sheshachton l'shem kodshim kalim. You had in mind more lenient kodshim like a shlomim, psulin. But kodshim kalim, a shlomim sheshachton l'shem kodshe kodshim, that were shechted in, and you had in mind a more sanctified korban like a chatas or an ola ksherin, even within the kodshim kalim. Habachor v'maiser sheshachton l'shem shlomim. Shlomim, all of these are shlomim type korbanos. A shlomim is different because the bailim can eat it. A bechor is the firstborn of an animal. The meiser is the farmer would count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The 10th animal is the meiser. And when you brought these korbanos, the bechor and the meiser, they were like a shlami. However, if the bechor and the meiser were shechted l'shem shlamim, it's ksheri. But if you brought a regular shlamim, sheshachtem l'shem bechor l'shem meiser psulin, because they're on a lower madrega. The Gemara wants to know lamidli lemisna ela shelo alu. The Mishnah sort of made it there, but yeah, they're kosher, except the Bailim don't get credit for it. Why didn't you just say lisni v'lo alu l'Bailim l'shem chayva? What's this ela? Akamash malon l'Bailim shelo alu l'shem chayva. Yeah, for the people who brought that korban, they don't fulfill their obligation. Ava b'kedusha sayu kaimu. But the kedusha of that korban remains. V'asr l'shnuyubi. And you have to carry out the remaining actions of the korban in a proper way. That is, you have to do the halacha, the kabbalah, the halacha, and the zrika. Kidei Rava. Like Rava learned, Amar Rava, oila sheshachta shaloi lishma. You have a korban oila, you shechted it, you had a different korban in mind. Asr lizrak dama shaloi lishma. You have to continue the zrika lishma, l'shem oila. Yeah, even though you started the process wrong, you have to do the zrika l'shem oila. Iboy say mesvara, iboy say makra. Iboy say mesvara, mishum deshani bein, because you made one change by shchita. Kol hana l'shem b'v'lezel. Should we pass everything else? No. Iboy say makra. Shenemer moitzos v'secha tishmor v'asisa. Kasher nadata shem lokecha nadava. Keep what you uttered from your mouth. Keep the neder. That high nedavahi, it's not a nedava, it's a nederu. Because it says kasher nadarta. Ella, so it's a play on words. Kamash nadarta sisa. You know what? You made a pledge to bring a korban oila. Continue all the details of a korban oila. Kamash nadarta sita yei neder. The imlo, and if you don't, it's nedava yei. It's like a different korban, like something that you'd offered as a donative offering, and not something that you were obligated to bring. Frankly, nedava, that doesn't solve anything. Nedava mishay l'shnuyi. You're not allowed to change a korban nedava either. So, Omer le Ravinu Rav Papa, lahavis kavan be'orcha d'tchuma. I wasn't there, be'charmacha. And I didn't hear the Rami, Rabba Milam Ayasad Adari V'Shanilu. Rabba raised the stira between two concepts and he resolved it. My Milam Ayasad, what great words. Tanat. Kol Azvachim Shenizbuchu Shalol Lishman. Korbanos that were shechted Shalol Lishma. They're kosher, we said, but the Bailim don't get credit. Time is Shalol Lishman. They had in mind a different korban. What if they didn't have anything in mind? Hastama olunami lebailim shem chayva. It seems that the bailim get credit even they had a stam kavana without what means an anonymous kavana. So alama stama nami kilishman dami. So it comes from here that if you have stam kavana, you don't have a specific kavana. It's like you did it lishma. But v'raminu, I'll show you a stira from Masechta Gittin. Kol haget shenichtav shelo shem ha'isha pasul. If you write a get and you don't have in mind this specific woman, it's invalid. The shem ha'isha has to be, who's going to be divorced, it has to be lishma. But if you wrote a get stam, not a specific woman, pasul. It's nami pasul. It's not like here by Korban that we say stam is kosher. By get, it's kapasul. How did Rava mitarz? Shani zvachim, because bistam lishmanoim. Person designated in a korban l'shem oila. It remains that way whether you say it or not. If you're going to be oikerit by having in mind a specific different korban, then you're oikerit. But if you just have no kavana, it doesn't change its original purpose. But isha bistam alav legerusha menes. A woman is not stam ready to be divorced; she has to be physically divorced with an instrument. So the get has to be written in the proper way. So we seem to establish that by Zevachim, a stam kavana will work even l'shem bailing. Freit the Gemara uzvachim b'stomach sher minola. Having not a negative kavana by a korban keeps the korban kosher. Where do we learn it from? Maybe from the following Mishnah. If the korban was shechted shalol lishma, the bailim don't get credit. Now you notice the Mishnah dealt with shalol lishma, and it was silent. V'lo ktani shalol nizbechu lishma. It didn't say that they were not shechted lishma. And therefore, we don't have this raya anymore. It's not that I've a stam kavana would be oil lebailim, because gabi get, which is possible to stam nami haktani kol get shenichtav shelo l'shem isha possible. The loktani didn't say also there in the positive way shelo nichtav l'shem isha possible. So you can't be medatek over there. It doesn't work. So by the korbanos it doesn't work either. So we need another proof why shechting a korban with a stam kavana is still kosher. Mehadis not. Ketzad lishman v'shalol. Now, let's say somebody was makriv a korban, and he had in mind lishma and shalol lishma, one after another. Right? He says l'shem pesach or l'shem shlamim. Taima l'shem pesach l'shem shlamim. That it won't work. Ha imam l'shem pesach ustama didn't say something else. Kosher. So alma shestaman kilishman dami. Again, we seem to have a raya that not having a specific machshava will keep it kosher. So the Gemara says maybe over there dilmi shani asam the Omar kala oisal das rishonu. When you say two, he said l'shem oil l'shem shlamim. Really, his kavan is on the first thing. So since the first one he mentioned was lishma, so he didn't change his mind. Ela miseifa. It's the seifa of that Mishnah we just quoted. What does it say there? If shalol lishman ulishman, like l'shem shlamim and l'shem pesach. For example, you had a korban pesach, and you had in mind l'shem shlamim l'shem pesach. We say it's not good. Time adama l'shem shlamim l'shem pesach. Hastama, if you didn't say anything, it would be l'shem pesach kosher. You can't prove from there because Dilmashani Yasim to Amar yoichiach soifal tchilaso. There's another svara that in the end you had kavan l'shem pesach. L'chora, that was his kavan all along. Or inami, you could give another answer that it was just a stylistic editorial decision by the author of the Mishnah. I did Tana lishma or shalol lishma. You gave me, what if you take a korban and you do it lishma v'shalol lishma? Tana nami shalol lishma lishma, the vice versa. Even though la halacha you can't be medayik. Elameha. The Gemara brings a third Mishnah to try to prove that a korban that is shechted with a stam kavana is kosher. So l'shem shisha dvarim hazevach. There are at 6 times in a korban, you need the proper kavana. You need it nizbach. You have to have kavana to be shechting. L'shem zevach. It has to be for a specific korban, whether it's an ola or a chatas or a shlamim. L'shem zoveach, you have to have in mind the owner of the korban, who's bringing it. L'shem shem, you have to know that the korban is being offered to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. L'shem ishim, you know that the korban is going to be placed on the mizbech to be burned. L'shem reach, that the reach of the korban will go up. And l'shem nichoach, it's going to provide nachas ruach for Hashem. Finally, the sixth thing is not by all korbanos, but by a chatas and a noshel l'shem chet. You have to have in mind what chet, if he did dam or nevela, or Rav Yossi, af mishu lahaya belibo, l'shem achas mikol elu. Rabbi Yossi says if you didn't have any of these things in mind, kosher. Why should Tnai Bezdin who? Bezdin made it Tnai in every korban that if the owners doesn't have any kavon, it's kosher. Asnu Bezdin lo lema lishma. In fact, Bezdin doesn't even want people to have him to say lishma, because dilma asi lemeimar shalo lishma. He's going to make a mistake. Better not to say anything.
Yeah, I just want to ask you a question on the last two things that the reach should
Yes.
go up, right?
The reach
and so
not only should
a person can't make sure that happens. He can have in mind that it should happen, but he can't make sure that it happens.
no, you have to have kavana, that you have to know that this korban is going l'reach.
Right.
That's it, and that it's l'nachas ruach for Hashem. Whether it happens or not, that's you're right. That's beyond you.
It's beyond these things. The other things are in his hands. The other four things are in his hands.
You have to have in mind. You have to know what the korban is going for. For example, even when it says l'shem,
I understand, but the other things that you can have in mind, then you can have this. Those things are in his mind, but the way the Lashon of the Gemara is, the last two things doesn't seem. It seems like it's out of his. It's true. That's what we have in mind. But
well,
it's not in our hands.
Rashi says l'shem reach lafuki evorim shetzolon ve'elon teshuvein barech. For example, if you only have limbs left, they apparently don't provide reach. So if you just roasted limbs and put them on the mizbeach, you didn't fulfill the korban, because that.
But with the korban has to be the whole korban is talking about the whole korban. We never have a situation where you can just put on limbs.
Yeah, but let's say that's all that's left. So you might think it's kosher.
No, but all that's left. What? You didn't eat it.
No, let's say you shechted the korban and some of the pieces get lost, and the only thing that's left are the evorim. So
but then who says that you're allowed to bring that up?
That's an example where you don't put it up because there's no more reach. That's what the Gemara is going to explain.
I get it. I get it.
Yeah. The Isaac the stomach apostle. So it comes out, the proof is you can't say that Bezdin would have made a t'nai to have a stam kavana, right? Kami Bezdin umasni milsa de mifsal. Would Bezdin make a t'nai that no one should enunciate lishma, because that leads to problems shelo lishma. Better not to say anything, because leiv Bezdin masna on every korban that it should go lishma, and that proves that having a stam kavana is kosher for the korban. Now, we stated as a matter of fact, gabi get the stam apostle, that if you have a get and the name of the woman has been written without lishma, they wrote the name, but they don't know which woman we're talking about. You're a soifer. You're going to have some gets ready. You know there's a lot of people named Rachel. So you're right, Rachel Bas Sarah. And you're going to have it in a desk, so when a woman shows up, it's ready to go. That get is puzzle, because it wasn't written l'shem a specific woman. That's what we mean, that a get, not written lishma, is puzzle. The Gemara wants to know minola. Well, how do you know it? Where's the source that a get, not written l'shem a specific woman, is puzzle? We have a following Mishnah. Haya over b'shuk, person's walking in the market. Vishama Soifrin Makrin, and here's a Soifer, the Soifer has Talmidim, and the Soifer is reading for Talmidim. Ish Ploini Girish Ploini Mimokum Ploini. This Chaim Yankel is divorcing this Sarah in Los Angeles. And the guy walking by says, V'omer zeshmi v'zeshem ishto. Yeah, I live in this city, and that happens to be my name. That happens to be my wife's name. Maybe I'll use that get. Pasul garishbo. He may not use it for his divorce because it wasn't written l'shem a specific woman. So the Gemara says this is the Mishnah. Maybe Dilma is Krav Papa. Maybe over there, the reason why it's not good is for a different reason. Damar of Papa. There, it was all educational. And therefore, lo ichtiv l'shum krisus klal. This Sofer is teaching his Talmidim. It wasn't written l'shem get. So the Gemara wants to say maybe if a Sofer wrote a get with the name Rachel Bas somebody, and there's a get, and it was written for the purpose of divorcing a woman, maybe in a Chanami it would work. The only reason, for example, in that case it didn't work, because it was the Sofer was teaching his students, and it was a sample get. It wasn't written l'shem krisus klal. Ela meha. So the Gemara is going to give us another proof why a get not written lishma is not good. Okay, this starts us off a good way in Masechta Zevachim. Masechta Zevachim is going to be very nice. The next few Masechtas are actually going to be very interesting. Zvachim, Menachos, Chulin. It actually, even though we don't live with daily korbanos, the Gemaras are very interesting, I think. Okay.
Tomorrow, 7:15.
Yeah, I would say until it's earlier, until Young Israel of Hancock Park is earlier, then we could do it at 7. But until then, we'll do it at 7:15.
And then we have the Tzorba at 8
Sorbet 8.
Okay.
Exactly.